12 and a half is still up there, we own it, and we believe that it is in the, it's the will of the town that we continue on this path to development. We'll go into some history later. We plan to issue a request for proposals, go out to the market, find out what developers would be willing to do with this land. They will come back to us with sketches or a rendering of what they want to build and how much money they will pay us for the land to do that. We, as a selectman, then will take those in and sort through them, and we have to take one or more proposals to the town meeting so that the town meeting can authorize the sale. Since, regardless of how well we do our work, if the town meeting says no, nothing happens. So our job is to figure out what town meeting will support, what you will support, and try to take that information, get it back to the developers so that they make proposals that you will support, and we can have 2 or 3 options, and we can pick the best one. That might be asking for too much. If we can, we definitely want to come forward with at least one proposal that town meeting will accept. Otherwise, we've gone to all this trouble for naught. So we want your help in guiding us. Tonight's meeting will have about a 30-minute presentation here with some slides, and then we'll open it up to questions and comments for about an hour. I think by 9 o'clock we should be done. First, we're going to have some history. Jim Johnson is going to, since he was here for most of it, sitting at the selectmen's table, how it is we got ourselves to where we are. And then Lance will come along and tell us what some of our options are going forward, how we can imagine what that land could become, and some of the process issues of how it is we step forward, because it's a little tricky getting approvals for development. So I'll turn it over to Jim.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'd like to all go back to right out.
We're supposed to move this forward. I didn't tell you that. Yes, we have to keep saying next slide. That's what I just talked about. And a couple pictures of the farm. And in specific, this is the whole thing that we bought. And obviously, this is the part that's been leased to the concerns.
Good evening. Go back to right after fall town meeting 2006. The Board of Selectmen and Town Manager abruptly informed that the Hamiltons had decided to purchase a sales agreement on Avalon Day to build a mega complex here consisting of about 260 units. After the initial shock of everything, the Board of Selectmen and town staff put together a very aggressive program to investigate whether or not we could be buying by exercising our option 61A. Locke. Next one. With a lot of work on everybody's point, Board of Selectmen, town staff, primarily citizens of this town, we all worked together and exercised our option in March of 2007. Things went around fairly quick after that. We had a special town meeting to approve the purchase. We had an override, successful override vote, and we purchased the previous piece of property of the original Wright fund for $13.5 million, and 82 Ridge Street for $1 million for $500,000. And at that time, we had about $100,000 of soft costs. Town meeting, we developed an RFP, put it out, had several interesting response, and we'll address those in a few minutes, but we did get approval to purchase the property at town meeting by the voters. We created the Locke Wright Farm Conservancy back in 2007, and we had an authorization for an RFP to sell the property in spring of 2008. Unfortunately, the sale did not go through based upon the economy. Under that sale, all our issues would have been addressed as far as money goes. Next slide, please. As I said,
Actually, one more back.
one back, I think it's the one where
That's it.
2007 nonprofit. Land for public trust, tourist development. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That's the app development, which the town meeting finally voted on, and we tried exercise, which consists of about 82 units, and 2 different parcels of the land, leaving a lot of land free. If you can go back to the other slide, it says the comparison periods, June 2000. If you can see, we had 5 serious bidders that we evaluated, did our due diligence on, and ultimately decided to go with the Abbott England proposal. We entered into a PS with them. We went through the permitting process with them. We received a few down payments. Unfortunately, they couldn't commit because they couldn't obtain the financing in the deal of $50 a couple years ago. Next slide, please. And back last fall, 2011, the Board of Selectmen rebid the Abbott proposal. We got 4 bids. None of which we felt were to our liking based upon various conditions. Rejected all. Since then, the Board of Selectmen has been evaluating what to do with the 12.5 acres. And we've decided that after due diligence, I have a consultant. We've decided to bring it back to the public for public input session, probably a couple of them. So we want to hear from you before we make up our mind of what to go do going forward. Next slide. All right, okay. Just some small points of interest. Construction carrying cost of this project is $40,000 a year. Much thanks to Jason Lewis and his team, because he did some home rule petition for very low band pricing for several years. Back in 2007, the town meeting had a target price of $7 million. The impact, if we did not sell the property, also sold for any amounts below, our listed was about $771,000. If we did not sell the property, it would cost about $124,000 annually. Sold it for if we absorbed the $9 million override, it would be 63. A $6 million override at the taxpayers absorbed would be $62. And a $3 million override would cost us $31. These are project numbers. There's a project
Over what period?
What?
Over what period? How long would we be assessed?
I believe 25, less the amount of bands, I believe. The band time also kicks in until Monday. And we've had the bands for 7 years, somewhere around 18 to 20 years right now. The band has over that time.
This is a debt exclusion override that's already been voted. It's just that you're not paying for it yet because we hoped we were going to sell it, you never have to pay. So if we decide we're not going to develop it, that means that your tax rate will jump up $124, though that would be declining over the 25-year period until it finally goes to nothing.
Jim, question that 2007 town meeting target sale price. My recollection is that we voted to sell the property to Abbott, and it was not for $7 million.
No, we voted to sell it at 14.
Oh, 14. So what is that?
Originally, when the town meeting took this forward in the beginning, before we negotiated the RFP, town meeting indicated they wanted a minimum of $7 million in the very beginning of the process.
Rather, we voted this for 14 million, not for 7.
That's correct. Yes.
What's the median single-family home?
Median single-family home is the average price of all homes.
No. What is the median? That's the average. The median.
I don't know.
So, well, I'm just following. It's most people would not be getting with 1.4.
Maybe nobody would be able to exactly 124, but that's a round number for
Actually, the more accurate number would be cost per million times the actual value, assessed value of the house, which we tried to do, but was going to get very confusing.
Oh, yeah, so then, that number has to be adjusted for the price, the assessed value of your own house to get a feeling for it.
Just to be clear, you mean if we do nothing, in other words, if you don't sell the property, that's what it would cost the average person, $124 a year?
Yes.
Over
Over approximately 20-year period.
Thank you.
I understood that as the peak year, that is not a.
The first year,
Yes,
it's
there's a graph.
declining
There's
there.
a decline, right.
Good evening, I'm Lance Bransback. I'm going to walk us through some of the discussion we've had about potential development scenarios. I think there's, on the last slide, there was no, if you sell it for more than 3 or up to 14, that would be fine. At this point, there's no decision to be made about what price target, so it's wide open. Okay, next slide, please. What we're going to talk about in the RFP process and the development process, we as a town have to answer a bunch of questions about what we want to offer the developers and what we then will accept. And they're very simple, and Doug will come back to the open discussion to these people's opinions, but basic questions are, on the property, where do you want to develop it? What do you want to develop? What kind of housing, what numbers, what types of housing, there's a set of things there. When we want to do it, do we want to rush to market soon? Want to wait a year? Want to wait 2 years? Can you guess what the best market will be out there? You want to think about the impacts to the neighborhood and to the town, conservancy, schools, taxes, series of things. And then in the bottom line has to be what's the best buy or best value for the town, balancing the money and the open space and all the other issues out there. So these are issues, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to basically sort of set the framework. We're not going to make decisions tonight, not going to pick an alternative, but the objective is to make sure that we listen to people and say, what's out there? Next slide, please. What we're looking for is a sense from the town, and the board will eventually want to make a decision on what range of scenarios we want to go out for in an RFP. Do we want to ask for no development all the way up to a very extreme development? So the question is the town want to go out with an RFP that says to a developer, you can do anything from this end to that end, or do we want to go out to say, we want only proposals that will fall here, or only proposals that will fall here, or only proposals. So the exercise we're going to go into starting tonight is to sort of say, is there any consensus on where we ought to go out along that spectrum? So, next slide, please. Well, let me just back up one. This is just back to the issues, what you're playing with by and large, and you'll see it in the pictures. The development variables are going to be, again, what areas do you want to develop? What type, number, and size of housing units you want to put on the site? Where do you locate them and how do you mass them? Spread them out, concentrate them. What design? Do you want a pretty farm look? Do you want modern Kendall Square? What's your favorite out there? And then we will have choices about site coverage. Do you want to spread it all out and pave everything? Do you want to concentrate it and pave very little? So those are all going to be the pieces. What we will be doing is the same thing we did in the original RFPs and this one, which is basically set up tables like this, where we're basically going to say, we've got a set of development scenarios, and again, what we're looking for is guidance on, are we looking at just limited development, moderate development, or the whole range? So this table could be larger or smaller when it gets finished. And what we're going to be looking at is a series of factors down the side here. I listed them. This is a short because we ran out of space on the table, but if you go to the next slide, this is the beginnings of a list of things that people wanted to understand when we did the original and then the rebid. So, sale price, what's the fiscal impact of the town longer term, project design, land use, neighborhood impacts, what type of housing is out there, what are we doing, historic, cultural, conservation, transportation. There's a whole series of issues that people want to look at. The intent, we finish this discussion and go out with an RFP, would be to come back and take that information and say, let's rank these things out so we can compare them and go across the list. It'll be a lot of information, but I think people are basically saying this is a critical project for the town, and we need to have a sort of full disclosure and transparency on what we're getting and what the trade-offs are out there. So that's the logic. Okay, you're familiar with the Wright Locke farm. I suspect most of you have been up there. This is this is north this way on this particular one. It rotates on a few of these maps. But this is Johnson, High Street, Johnson and Ridge, High Street goes off there. The hill is here, farm building's here, 82 is there, and this line through there is an easement for a high-pressure gas pipeline. So one of the simple things is you're not going to build right on top of the gas pipeline. Pepper Hill Drive here, Edwards Drive here. There are houses obviously to the north on the top side there that are off this particular map, but you can see them in the Google Maps. Next slide, please. This one was really nice red lines with the bulb and the connection on this projector are not doing terribly well, but when we talked about the last bids going out, the land was basically divided up into a set of properties. This property was the housing in the barn, and the area here called Lot C was designated as the conservancy area for, for development. So what was then put out for development was basically all this area here. It's a little bit of break here, but then across the top on the edge there. So that was what was talked about. And when we talk about what areas to be developed, we will have a choice about which of those pieces we want to sort of break up and put out for RFP. So go a little bit further on that. This is a more readable version of the plan that we'll go out there. Next slide. What we've done, Board of Selectmen